Life is a series of cages disguised as living, a layered maze of traps that begins with birth and ends only in oblivion. Every attempt to escape one merely leads into another. The world is a machine built from interlocking prisons, each feeding the next, each ensuring that existence remains a slow and exhausting process of decay. The first is the death trap, the silent law beneath all others. Every being is born already dying. Time begins its countdown from the first breath, dragging you toward the inevitable collapse of body and mind. Every effort to survive only delays the outcome. You can work, struggle, pray, and build, but all paths lead to the same erasure. Death is not an event waiting at the end. It is the background process running behind every moment of life. Inside this doom lies the housing trap, where shelter, the most basic form of safety, is turned into a luxury. A person must surrender decades of their existence to secure a roof above their head. Those who succeed spend their youth in debt. Those who fail rent endlessly, feeding others wealth. The world you were born into now charges you rent to stand upon its surface. Bound tightly to it is the economic trap. You cannot move, eat, drink, or rest without money. The system converts every necessity into a transaction, forcing you to sell the limited hours of your life for the privilege of surviving a little longer. Every moment you work, you are trading pieces of your existence for currency that instantly dissolves into bills, taxes, and obligations. Even rest must be earned. Feeding this cycle is the work trap, the endless grind that disguises forced survival as purpose. You are told that work gives life meaning, but in truth it consumes life. Decades vanish inside offices, warehouses, and factories, where time becomes a currency drained drop by drop. Retirement is offered as a distant promise, but by the time it arrives, the body is broken and the spirit is numb. Work is not meaning, it is managed exhaustion. Below that lies the biological survival trap, the oldest and cruelest form of dependence. The body is a decaying organism that demands constant maintenance. It starves, bleeds, aches, and rots. You must feed it daily, clean it, rest it, protect it, and repair it, only to watch it weaken regardless. You cannot opt out of your biology. You are chained to its endless needs until it fails completely. From the body emerges the health trap, the inevitable corruption of the biological system itself. Illness, injury, and deterioration become recurring punishments for being alive. You are forced to fight your own biology just to maintain a baseline of function. Healthcare becomes another business, another system of debt, where healing is priced and rationed. Sickness drains not only strength but money, and medicine offers only delay, never escape. Even in wellness, the threat of breakdown hangs overhead like a silent executioner. Surrounding these is the social trap, the invisible pressure to conform, obey, and belong. You are born into a web of expectations that dictate your worth, your behavior, and your identity. Society manufactures illusions of freedom while ensuring obedience through shame and fear. Every choice is filtered through the collective gaze, and even rebellion is captured and repackaged into culture. You are free only within the limits of what others will tolerate. Entangled within the social web is the love trap, perhaps the most seductive illusion of all. Love promises escape from isolation, a refuge from the cold machinery of existence. But in truth, it binds as much as it frees. Love awakens dependence, expectation, and fear of loss. It exposes you to deeper suffering, the pain of attachment, betrayal, and grief. You begin to live not only under your own burdens, but under the weight of another's. The same force that promises connection becomes a chain of emotional servitude, where one's peace is held hostage by another's affection. Every bond contains its own eventual breaking, and every love story ends either in abandonment or death. The heart becomes both prisoner and jailer, craving the very thing that will destroy it. And from love arises the kid's trap, the most effective mechanism for keeping the machine alive. Love convinces you to replicate yourself, to create new life, as if doing so redeems your own. But in truth, it only restarts the cycle. Children are born into the same decaying system. inheriting the same traps, the same struggle, the same slow decay that consumed their parents. What begins as affection becomes obligation, decades of sacrifice, exhaustion, and financial strain. You spend the remainder of your life trying to protect them from the very world you brought them into, while watching them suffer the same inevitabilities you once did. Parenthood becomes the passing of the torch in a relay of pain, each generation forced to endure what the last could not escape. The illusion of legacy disguises the reality of replication, new captives born into the same prison. And beneath all of it lies the existential trap, the foundation that none can escape. You were brought into existence without consent, cast into a decaying universe where every joy is temporary and every bond ends in separation. You are aware of your own impermanence, yet powerless to change it. Even if you could escape the systems of money, society, and the body itself, you would still be imprisoned by being forced to watch yourself exist until you cease. Each trap sustains the others. The body demands survival, which binds you to work. Work ties you to the economy enslaves you through housing. Housing chains you to debt, society enforces obedience. Health collapses to remind you of fragility, and existence itself seals the prison shed. Together they form a perfect system of captivity, a world that extracts life from the living, disguises suffering as meaning, and calls slow destruction living. But there is one final layer, the conscious trap, the cruelest and most inescapable of them all. Consciousness turns the prison into torment because it allows you to see it. You are not only trapped, you are aware that you are trapped. The mind becomes both the observer and the victim, forced to witness its own suffering in real time. Awareness amplifies pain, turns uncertainty into anxiety, and transforms mortality into dread. To be conscious is to feel every crack in the walls of existence, to know there is no exit, and yet to keep searching for one. Thought itself becomes a curse, a mirror that never lets you look away from the absurdity of being alive. The very structure of existence is enslavement. From birth to death, you are trapped inside a decaying machine, forced to struggle for survival in a world that was never made for your freedom. People must work endlessly just to secure the most basic necessity, shelter. Whether renting or tied to a mortgage, they are trapped in a system where survival depends on constant economic motion. The moment that motion stops through job loss, illness, or injury, the foundation of their lives begins to collapse. Even when they try to find new work, it takes time, while rent, bills, and daily expenses continue to pile up. Welfare rarely fills the gap, and unemployment benefits are often too small to cover rent, mortgage payments, or essential costs. The system offers no genuine safety, only short-term relief that fades before stability can be restored. In many places, it now takes two adults working full-time just to make ends meet. A single person on minimum wage cannot afford to rent even a modest two-bedroom home, own a car, and pay bills without falling into debt. On top of that, the constant burden of maintaining essentials such as a car to get to work that may break down, appliances that fail without warning, and rising food and energy costs leaves no room to breathe. There is no space to simply exist without the threat of poverty or deprivation. Every aspect of modern life is tied to relentless financial pressure. A large number of people now live paycheck to paycheck, with no meaningful savings or security. Missing even one paycheck can mean falling behind on rent, losing utilities, or going without food. This isn't a small minority. It's the reality for much of the working population. Living this way turns every day into a quiet form of panic, where survival depends on nothing going wrong. It exposes how fragile the system truly is. Most people are only one unexpected expense away from disaster, trapped in a cycle that punishes the poor for being poor and rewards the wealthy for staying wealthy. Beyond the financial strain, this system imposes a severe psychological toll. The constant, low-level anxiety of knowing that a single misfortune, a car repair, a medical bill, or a layoff could trigger a downward spiral into debt and loss creates a society defined by stress and exhaustion. People are not just working to survive, they are constantly bracing for disaster. This unending vigilance wears down mental health, destroys motivation, and turns life itself into a form of sustained tension. Even education, which is supposed to provide opportunity, has become another trap. To access better-paying jobs, people are forced to pay enormous sums for higher education, often taking on debt that carries interest, debt that can take decades to repay. Instead of providing freedom, education now locks people into years of financial servitude before they even begin their adult lives. The modern work system itself has become exploitative and dehumanizing, especially in low-wage and precarious jobs where people are treated as replaceable parts rather than human beings. Despite immense technological and scientific progress, society has not evolved past economic servitude. Decades of labor grant nothing more than temporary permission to exist under a roof. Humanity remains trapped in a fragile system built on fear, dependence, and exhaustion, a civilization that still cannot protect its own creators from instability, insecurity, and loss.